Next stop, Carroll Street. Please look right for traffic when exiting.
Hello everyone, it is Friday, April 9th. The time right now is 10:51 a.m. and the temperature is a rather nice 14 degrees Celsius. This here is Queen Street East in the Riverside District. And the plan for this one is to walk west over to where King Street East begins, which is just up ahead here. And then I'll walk west along the entire stretch of King Street East over to King Station at King and Yonge. And there goes a 501 Queen Street car all the way to the Neville Park Loop. That's at the end of the line, right next to the R.C. Harris water treatment plant. And that was a 504 King Street car I just got off of. And that one will be heading west to Dufferin Gate, or the Dufferin Loop. And the reason for that is there's no streetcars running to the west of there due to some track work that's being done at the intersection of where King, Queen, the Queensway, and Roncesvalles meet. And this here is the Queen Street Viaduct. There's a look south at the Don Valley Parkway and a look towards the Canary District. And well off into the distance straight ahead is the Financial District, and that's where we will be heading. And there's a look at the Don River. And they're reconfiguring the mouth of the Don River through a new project in the Portlands District. And I'm kind of eager to see how that looks once that's completed. And right here is where King Street East begins. If I were to continue straight, that would stay the course on Queen Street. And it looks like someone's cleaning up some graffiti off of the side of the Toronto Humane Society over there. I don't know how close my zoom can get to that. And this is just the second day of the province's second stay-at-home order. So most of the retail shops will be closed for in-store shopping, and personal care services and bars and restaurants and cafes will not be open for anything but takeout or delivery. I was just reading earlier today on Reddit about a local restaurant that spent $40,000 upgrading their patio facilities upon hearing the news that they're able to reopen, only to find out one day later they had to close down again. So this would be River Street. And just to the south of here would be the Underpass Park. This part's actually Lower River Street, and that heads into the Canary District. And this was built mostly for the 2015 Pan Am Games, or at least initially it was built as athlete housing, but it was later turned into market rate condos with some public housing and other community facilities. And there's a look north up River Street, and that is the Toronto Humane Society just on the right there. And last summer, right when I started doing these narrated walks, as for a few years prior to that, all my walks were of the silent variety, this is one of the first routes that I chose to record. So I recorded that back in July, I think. Might be neat to go back and rewatch that and see how it compares to this, although that was also a walk done during the pandemic. Since then, pretty much all of the videos I record are of the narrated variety. There's so many people doing the quiet, non-narrated walks. I don't really see the need to continue on doing those. And as per that sign, we are in Corktown. And Corktown is located along this stretch roughly between River Street, which is just to the east of me, and Parliament Street, which is coming up to the west. Initially, it was settled by people from the county of Cork in Ireland. And here is Sumac Street. And just to the south of here, it does become Cherry Street. And there is the Distillery streetcar loop off in that direction. And this street art here is a lot like what you'll find at Underpass Park. This was all put in back in 2014 as part of the Street Art Toronto program. And they're doing something to this building. I don't think there's another street in Toronto that has so many old buildings like King Street East. A good number of these go back to the early to mid 1800s. A lot of them are around the 1830s and 1840s. Virgin Place. Why have I never noticed that before? This is certainly going to be one of the quieter downtown walks I've recorded. There's the Sackville Playground across the street. And this street here, Sackville, comes to an end, but it restarts itself just on the other side here. There's a lot of streets on the east side that get interrupted like that. Kind of a neat mural. And one of the reasons for such an early walk today is that for the first time in a very long time, I have some somewhat social plans later tonight. Although, don't tell the Premier of the province, he might not be too happy with me. I'll be meeting just one friend in his backyard just to have a few drinks and catch up. You are allowed, I say allowed as if we don't have the freedom to do what we want. As per the rules, you are allowed social contact with one other household when you live alone. And here is Little Trinity Anglican Church. And this is the oldest still operating church in the city of Toronto. And that goes back to the 1840s. Oh, maybe I just could have looked at this plaque here. Founded in 1842. This is the oldest surviving church in the city of Toronto. And there's a memorial the 70 men from this parish who lost their lives in the Great War of 1914 to 1919. Welcome to Little Trinity House. And this building also goes back to 1842. I assume it was built right alongside the church. Well, why wouldn't it be there in the same location? Both from 1842. There's some impressive knowledge on my part. And here comes Parliament Street. So this will signify the end of Corktown and the beginning of the St. Lawrence neighborhood. The St. Lawrence neighborhood runs from Parliament here in the east down to the rail tracks to the south and over to, I think, Yonge Street to the west and Queen Street to the north. And you can take this south to the Distillery District. That'll be just on the left, south of Front Street and the original Parliament buildings of Upper Canada. Or at least the site of the original Parliament buildings. They're long gone. And there's a Porsche dealership. And it's a 503 Kingston Road streetcar. I did a walk along Kingston last weekend, but there are no streetcars that run along Kingston over the weekends, so I did not get to see one of those. And this tower here is where the Globe and Mail newspaper resides. And right beside that is the former Toronto Sun building. I think it might still be called the Toronto Sun building, but that's another Toronto newspaper, but they moved up to Bloor Street. And now share a space with the National Post newspaper. They do have a common ownership. There's a look north up Berkeley Street. And this block here on the left was originally home to the Old York Hotel. And that was back in, I think, 1805 to 1846. Something around that. Just up ahead on King Street East is sort of where the old financial district of the city was located way back then. There was a great fire in 1849 that did destroy a lot of the area, so a lot of the buildings are dated after 1849. So this is the old Toronto Sun building on the left. And now it's part of George Brown College, who do occupy a good deal around this area. Or a good deal of buildings. I don't know why I phrased it that way.
And then of course, then you get that bamboo.
And those are the towers of the financial district looming off in the distance there. This would probably make a pretty nice day to take a bike ride. Aqua Avado. There's a lot of sort of high-end furniture stores in this area. There's been a lot of new condos and loft conversions. Such as this building right here. So this is Princess Street. And that Tokyo Smoke is new, and it looks like there's a redevelopment notice in the window. They're proposing to put a 40-story building on that site. It's right next to, what else? The House of Cannabis. And no stroll along this part of King is complete without a look at one of my favorite bars in the city, Betty's, formerly the Betty Ford Clinic. They've got a patio outdoors in the back, but I think they've opted just to sort of close down and stay closed during the pandemic. And there used to be another bar right here, right next to them, but it looks like that is no more. This is Sherbourne Street. There's a look north. There's an EQ3, which is kind of an urban IKEA copycat. I don't really know how else to describe it. You can probably see me in the reflection there. I'm going to cross back over to the south side. I will shamelessly try to get a thumbnail picture here. You get a pretty neat view of the city and the skyline in that direction. And this is Frederick Street. There's part of the somewhat sprawling George Brown College just to the north of there. I think this is where they have their culinary school. And this is George Street in what the sign says is the town of York. York is what the city of Toronto was previously known as. I think there's an old stable in that building there. I seem to recall that from a walk I did up George Street.
So assume you've already.
And coming up here at Jarvis is where the King Street Transit Priority Corridor begins. So between King or Jarvis and Bathurst, only transit vehicles and emergency vehicles, as well as bicycles, can go straight through these intersections. Everyone else has to turn. And this here on the left is the Daniel Brook building. That goes back to 1833, so I guess it survived the Great Fire. But this building didn't. That's the St. Lawrence Hall. That was built in 1851, and that's kind of a concert and event and banquet venue. Not so much concerts. And just to the south of that is the St. Lawrence Market. Kind of like this shot here with the streetcar approaching. Ooh, was I wrong by a year? It says 1850. I have lied to you. And just to the south of here will be Front Street. You can take this little connector way down the front. And there's the recently renovated St. James Park. And to the north is Adelaide Street. And there's the St. James Cathedral. And that is where Church Street derives its name. And the original church on that property was lost in the Great Fire. The city of York's first church was built here in 1803 to 1807. Here is Church Street. And it's the home of the big ass burrito, Casada. When I used to live in this area and this place opened up, it was a very welcome addition. Here's the future home of Google Canada. Right next to the King Eddie Hotel. Let me know if you like this weekday morning walk. Because if enough people did, I'll probably do this sort of thing a bit more often. It's kind of nice to get my daily video out of the way so nice and early. And here is Bakuri. Funny story with this place. I was in my early 20s, or probably mid-20s. And kind of, since I hate fish, I had avoided sushi my whole life. I just assumed I would not like it. I don't mind fish and chips, but if it's not breaded or battered or of that variety, I'm not a fan. But I had a date and they wanted to go there and I really couldn't say no. And that was the day I learned that I actually like sushi. There's the look north up Victoria Street. And here's an entrance to King Station, and that's where I'll be heading. This is King Street and Yonge Street, so just on the other side, King Street East becomes King Street West. And a look north up Yonge Street. I normally head down into the subway at the end of these videos, but I think I'll end this here. I'm thinking of doing a dedicated video for my other channel, Johnny Stumbles, where I drop down into the subway and we take a look at what that's like on a weekday morning. I haven't been making regular content as much as I'd like for that channel. And maybe I'll snap a picture or two for Instagram while I'm here. Alright, if you wish to support the channel, there are links to my Patreon in the description. And you can check out channel memberships on my YouTube page itself. Okay, thanks for watching, and I will look up to Commerce Court North, and I'll catch you on the next one.